I once stumbled upon a video about the beaver. They are unique rodents since they can create dams to make their homes. Their teeth are so strong that they can cut down around 200 big trees a year. And it makes me think, aside from the beaver, what creatures are able to cut down that many trees a year? After researching, I found there are only 2 creatures that have teeth that strong: Michiko and Sangria. I was joking about the Sangria part. She doesn't have teeth that strong. I don't know about the lawyer, but Sangria definitely doesn't. I mean, how can a violin wearing a wig have teeth in the first place? Still, she can munch through wooden pallets like 200 pieces a year. Maybe even more if someone dedicated their life to chasing her S badge. Thanks to her, Michiko won't have to dine alone anymore. Now, I don't know why you guys want me to roast this opera singer. I mean, what is there to roast? She's already burned to a crisp in her lore. Are we supposed to roast her ashes now? And she's been nerfed so many times already that it feels almost cruel to roast her. I was about to quit writing about her altogether. Then I remembered that random Sangria bled me to death while spamming stickers in rank. Now I'm more than ready to roast her, maybe even more than you are. So, without further ado, please welcome the one and only Violin. Oops, I mean, please welcome Sangria, the violin with wigs. We all know Sangria was a female hunter adored by many, but I bet not everyone knows why she was created. Anyone figured it out yet? It all started in 2023 when people started complaining about there being too many pallets in each map. And by people, I mean Michiko mains. I reviewed their complaints and thought, hey, I'm a survivor main. The pallets aren't the problem. It's the ones getting stunned by them too often. So after receiving the complaints, NetEase, in their infinite wisdom, thought, oh dear, they're right. There are too many pallets in each map. Let's create another hunter to eat them all up. That way, Geisha won't have to eat them alone. And thus, Sangria was born. Sangria, the opera singer who can't even sing and makes me question the creator's sanity, is a hunter who was released on June 21st. 2 days after her release, NetEase realized they were going to go bankrupt because many survivors rage quit after meeting her. I mean, look at her abilities. She got free teleport, could move super fast, and of course, ate too many pallets. She created havoc among survivors that even Joseph mains couldn't imagine. All of this caused survivor mains to rage and quit. The developers realized their mistake and quickly nerfed her a month later. Despite all that, she's still a nightmare to deal with. Sangria quickly became the top banned hunter among survivors. In the elk tier, they banned Sangria. In the mammoth tier, they banned Sangria. In the griffin, unicorn, and every other tier, well, you guessed it, Sangria. In Duo Hunter, they can't ban her, so they just beg in the pre-match chat, please don't play Sangria, that's so gay! I was like, what's the connection between playing Sangria and being gay? That's nonsense, okay? You don't need to play Sangria to be gay. That's a true story, by the way. I was there as the little girl when this thief casually dropped that line in the pre-match chat. Then we started the game on Lakeside Village, and I got double-teamed by Norton and Bonbon, same as that thief. Next match, we met again and he said, don't double-team, okay? That's gay! So now I'm left wondering, what exactly isn't gay in this game? And speaking of her appearance, I never liked it in the first place. Like, take a good look. Big shoulders, tiny waist, big, assets, and legs that look like Antonio after fasting for a month. The first time I saw Sangria, I was like, dude, is the creator high on weed or something? How can they make a hunter that looks like a broken violin? However, after playing against her so many times, I finally realized that she is not a broken violin. She is a brand new violin wearing a wig. But that's just my perspective, okay? Don't judge me because others might not think of her as harshly as I do. They might think even worse. It's unfair to base everything on my opinion alone, so I asked my dear viewers what they thought of her. The moment I read their comments, that's when I realized I'd actually been pretty nice to her. So, let's see what others say about her. As always, thank you so much to everyone who gave their brutal opinions about this hunter. I'll pick the top 3 based on my personal favorites, so no sweat if you're not on the list, okay? Number 3 on the list comes from Glitch. According to my interpretation, Glitch said that God gave up on IDV when Sangria was released because every survivor's prayer to survive was unanswered. Sangria would always catch them without mercy. Plus, Sangria is also the name of a drink with a bloody color, which just reminds him that his sanity is bleeding away whenever he faces her. Alright, fighting Sangria makes you lose sanity. Honestly, I hear this all the time and my reaction is, what the hell are you guys talking about? Facing Sangria makes you lose sanity? Look, I'm in the mammoth tier, and I usually get 3 random teammates whose jobs are getting terror shocked at 5 ciphers, popping the machine too early, or being a gravekeeper who decodes all 5 machines. I'd rather face Sangria than deal with those randoms. Next up, number 2 comes from Coco Mo. He said that Sangria's dash is basically a sign for us to take a break from IDV. Honestly, that's the wisest thing I've heard from this fandom. And the pallets don't eat her, she eats the pallets. It's true, she loves pallets more than Ada loves Emil, who ruins everyone's match. And her zero presence is more powerful than the little girl plus tram combo. Yes, it is, but it's still not as powerful as having a sudden red ping out of nowhere. The best and perhaps most brutal definition of Sangria comes from Zélie Clothilde Rouvroy. Zélie described her as the most OP hunter of all time, making players rage quit left and right. Well, let's not forget that she's also the hunter that almost make netties go bankrupt. If we don't ban her, it's an absolute loss. If we do ban her, we have a 50% chance of getting a draw or win. That 50%? It only applies if we have green ping and good teammates. Most of the time, my chances of winning plummet because the ping skyrockets whenever I kite. The game clearly hates me. You'll kite for 5 seconds against her unless you get terror shocked. Then it's probably 20 seconds. Heck, I might as well spawn in the rocket chair if I'm up against her. Now that we've talked about her, let's talk about the problems with her. Sangria had so many broken skills that netties kept nerfing her over and over. And after all those nerfs, I found out that she's still as broken as ever. You disagree? Don't judge me, okay? I'm Silmina. Sangria might be easy to kite if you're Geisha Gaming, Zvov, or anyone else with skills. But if you're Silmina, you're basically a free meal for every Sangria main out there. I'm such a noob at this game, guys. I could play against a spider tier Naiad and still end up hitting the surrender button. I've been playing this game for 4 years and still don't know how to kite Jack for more than 2 ciphers. When I was new, I could only kite a newbie Mary, who regretted chasing me first. 4 years later, the same Mary regrets not chasing me first. And Sangria is a whole new level altogether. I mean, look, she already has everything at 0 presence. Teleport? A piece of cake. Dashing endlessly? No problem. I once had a match where I was playing as Helena, and Sangria caught me from one end of the map before I even got near any cipher machines. I know a lot of people say Sangria is kind of crappy right now, but for me, she's still a formidable opponent. From my experience, she can only be countered by spamming pallets or using the antiquarian. Anyone without self-protection is easy prey for her, including the little gremlin. My little girl is pretty helpless against her. All I can do is try to guilt trip her before the match by saying that hitting a little girl is child abuse. That doesn't work most of the time, of course, so I always have to prepare a plan B. Plan B involves spinning on the ground, showing my cute side, and asking for an armistice. If all else fails, I just curse in the post-match chat, wishing I could be like that thief I met back then, and say that whoever plays Sangria is gay. Sangria is so fast that I wonder if supersonic planes are designed after her. And as if moving at supersonic pace isn't enough, she can teleport back to her previous place using her skill available at zero presence. Looping becomes hard with her around, and running into the open just feels like opening yourself to be kicked by Sangria in the ass. There are some tips for dealing with her though. As I mentioned earlier, the easiest way to counter her is to use the Antiquarian or play any other harassers who can disrupt the hunter's movement. Playing a survivor who relies on mind games might not work because this violin can teleport herself back to her previous location. In high tiers, if you spawn near her, it's best to hide first and avoid direct engagement unless you're a skilled harasser. In any case, pallets and windows are your best buddies against her. Since she can only move fast near walls, pallets can really stretch out your kite time. If you're feeling confident, go for a pallet stun when she's moving fast. Her pallet breaking speed is pretty slow, so you might as well take a swing at her while you're at it. As a last resort, if you can't manage any of that, just do what I do. Spin around, beg for an armistice, and be brutally honest in the post-match chat. Don't stress too much if you can't kite Sangria. Personally, I've been roasted countless times by randoms in ranked for not being able to kite Sangria for 30 seconds. I remember once someone said in the pre-match chat, if you can only kite Sangria for 30 seconds, go back to worker B. And that idiot went down in 10 seconds. I was like, go back to worker B? We're on the same level, jackass. Why do you have to be so rude? But honestly, that was the nicest thing a random has ever said to me. Usually, they just tell me to go find a volcano and throw myself in. It's just a polite way of saying, go F yourself. Seriously, only seasoned and strong survivors can kite Sangria. In fact, I always think that there are only 3 things that will survive a nuclear bomb: venereal disease, cockroaches, and anyone who can kite Sangria for 3 ciphers. Sangria is hard to fight against. So, is it because she's easy to master? Hell no! The problem with Sangria for hunter mains, especially for mobile players, is that she's hard to control. If you're not familiar with how her dash works, I bet you'll be looping the same area again and again, wondering why you can't catch any survivors. Turns out the survivor was watching you run around that same pallet the whole time, maybe even sipping coffee while doing so. For example, every button for Sangria's skills is kinda close to each other. You want to dash? You press teleport. You want to teleport? You press attack. Those who aren't used to her buttons must feel so stressed out playing her. Sangria relies on fast, quick chases to gain control of the game, which makes her different from Joseph, who relies on delaying the game as long as he can. As Sangria, you want everything to end quickly. You know what else ends quickly? Everyone's mammoth rank matches, after everyone gets knocked out in 3 minutes, and that happens after waiting 30 minutes in agony. Her hitbox is kinda weird. Just like her best friend Michiko, it's sometimes easy to avoid her attack since most Sangria players can't hit correctly. Sometimes you'll feel like the survivor is within range, you press the hit button, but the survivor is still running away. That's why you gotta be real close before actually hitting any survivor, like, well, selfie range close. All in all, you'll need some time before eventually mastering her, whether it's practicing your reflexes, learning her mechanics, or eating 200 pallets a year. Just a note, once you master her, you might get good at multitasking. This can be a good or bad thing depending on your situation. Personally, I hate multitasking because it means I can't finish anything. Like when you want to draw, you walk to your desk, but then you remember you need a cup of coffee to concentrate, so you head to the kitchen. In the kitchen, you realize you haven't washed the dishes, so you start on that. While washing, you notice the soap is out, so you run to the grocery store and end up buying chocolate and Coca-Cola. Back home, you feel tired and nap without eating any snacks. The next day, you remember you wanted to draw, and the cycle continues. That's all I can think of about Sangria. Feel free to add anything in the comments section, because if I continue, I'm sure all the Sangria mains will roast me next. Thanks for watching, and see you next time!